America loves progress, but Americans hate change. And within this national paradox, developers find themselves encountering the NIMBY phenomenon. In today's episode, we're going to look at the NIMBY trifecta, the three causes of NIMBYism that you see regardless of industry, regardless of demographics, and regardless of location. So buckle up and join me on this next episode starting now. Hey there, Patrick Slevin. Great to have you here and joining our channel in this new episode, episode 2, titled The NIMBY Trifecta. Every year we see tens of thousands of local reports of not in my backyard opposition to good sustainable projects. And every year that adds up to millions of dollars of lost market share and revenue opportunity for developers, and billions of dollars of lost economic opportunities as far as job creation and the like. And so what causes this to happen on an annual basis for decades? Is it just some random occurrence of opposition of local homeowners or special interest groups who are just targeting a project, maybe even your project? No, there's something more to it. And that's what I call the NIMBY trifecta, which is comprised of three X factors. Okay, so the first X factor is going to be the digital grapevine. The grapevine goes all the way back in the human condition, starting with the fireside chats. And what is the grapevine? Typically, it's rumor mills and gossip that spreads misinformation or partial truths at best. And in the case of development, it's one of the earliest threats to a potential project. And now with the digital age, we have social media that even on steroids pumps up all the gossip and the misinformation that's going out there. And typically gossip starts well before the application is filed. And as we all know, just from our own common experience, one of the high topics of interest in any community is what's happening with the lot or the property down the road. And so some of the best gossip spreaders are going to be your realtors and real estate brokers. And so your project could already be in the crosshairs well before you even know about it or officially or formally taking any action. So with the grapevine, that is one X factor that starts mischaracterizing your project and even demonizing a project weeks or even months before anything formally happens. And it's not uncommon for good sustainable projects to be killed well before the application's even completed or the plans have been drafted. X factor number 2 is the archaic and outdated notice and hearing process. In my opinion, the notice and hearing process is a killing field for sustainable real estate projects. And why is that? Well, ironically enough, when the notice and hearing process was created, it was focusing on citizen participation. And we find that it does the exact opposite. It creates conflict, it creates crisis, and I qualify that with your bureaucratic notices, your bureaucratic public hearings. These are just forms for first off, validating X factor number 1, the gossip and the misinformation. Because when you have bureaucratic notices or people who don't get them and saying they're being left out of the process, it just feeds this beast of opposition that's being fueled by X factor 1, the gossip. What the notice and hearing process really is about is being political, it's emotional, and it's chaotic. And the opposition's very adept at manipulating the notice and hearing process to create that conflict we talked about in episode 1. And create crisis that furthers along their political intents to kill your project. So let's go to the third X factor that really controls and influences the first two that we talked about. And that's a paradigm that I call us versus them. And what do I mean by that is the corporate developer and the land use practitioners have been so focused on the legal, logical, and linear aspects of the notice and hearing process that they have essentially, just by reflex and habit, ignored the third parties. And that's why your NIMBY opponents are able to turn the notice and hearing process upside down and able to warp it with their political, their emotional, and chaotic components. And as we talked about, the politics trumps the legal. And so this us versus them is a mentality, a corporate mentality, if you will, of ignoring, underestimating, or overlooking the third-party stakeholders in the community that influence the license to operate. And let me add that the us versus them mentality also creates silos and corporate blind spots that are exploited by the opposition, especially going through the application process. And so this is an area of opportunity that our series is really going to get into, to where as the applicant, as the corporate citizen, you can take on better strategies, better tactics, better best practices, if you will, in overcoming these silos, these hubris, and these deficits that only embolden and empower the opposition. So that's the good news. But how do you get there? How do you get there beyond just watching the series here? I would recommend starting now that you become predictably unpredictable. Predictably unpredictable, what that means is, with the NIMBY trifecta, this is a pattern that reoccurs time and time again. And so, as the applicant, you are predictable. The opposition knows what's coming. They know that once the application is filed, that they can blindside you. They know they're going to have an ally in the media. They know that their Facebook page is going to blindside you as well. And so now you're going to be on a defensive, and that's when you start being more interested in third parties, which is too little too late, of course. And so let's look at Napoleon for a moment, and to really understand what the next steps start looking like. You must not fight too often with one enemy, or you will teach him all your art of war. So what Napoleon is saying here is to be unpredictable. And this is the opportunity to start turning things around and overcoming this NIMBY trifecta. By being unpredictable, what we're talking about here is understanding that your project can be demonized well before your application is filed. Understanding that the notice and hearing process is a liability, not a platform for education. And also understanding that you, as the applicant and developer, can do more proactive outreach and engagement to effectively educate stakeholders and create that social and political capital that's going to be necessary to get you through the potential crisis and ultimately a majority vote at the local municipality. So I hope this video helped you. I hope it gives you a frame of reference for the upcoming episodes and empower you to overcome the NIMBY trifecta and start putting your project at lower risk and at greater success. Thank you for joining me. Have a good one.